I really wasn't planning on doing a video for Lyn, but so many people asked for this that I just couldn't ignore it. Part of the idea behind my killer builds is that I like to see what can be put out there that is just a little counter meta, that is just a little bit above and beyond, that does measure the success against very popular builds. Whenever I get builds that are similar to what's already been posted online everywhere, I get a little disappointed. So let's quit yammering, let's get to it. Let's get her digits, a great speed on her, a really good resistance on her, terrible hit points, actually about average maybe for a mage, well, that defense is really bad for an armor unit, but once again, for a mage, it's actually not bad either. Let's take a look at what she swings with. Her weapon has the same shtick that everybody else's weapon does at this point in time in this banner, so she's getting rid of all the buffs that the opponent has whenever they are attacking from a range. Not distant counter stuff, just people who are attacking at a range. She comes with Ardent Sacrifice with 37 hit points. I don't know what they were thinking, but whatever, that's sort of nice. I guess that's a gift. And she has a full kit. First of all, she has attack and speed bond. Full disclaimer right now, anytime that's in a build, I always evaluate it as if it's being activated. So whenever you see that and you see the rankings and stuff, that is being calculated into it. But that gives you +5 attack and speed whenever you're adjacent to somebody. It's going to happen a lot in armored teams, so that's really, really cool. Also, she comes with guard. Really, really great C-slot skill. I wish it cost more. But otherwise, I love that skill. It saves so many people so much heartache, and by heartache I just mean losing a perfect arena run. And lastly, she has Armor March. We're starting to see a lot of units with Armor March, and it really does benefit mages very well. So the fact that she has Armor March so that you're guaranteed to have it if someone's adjacent to her, especially if you do an attack and speed bond, that's great. Her ratings are good. Of course, this is a scale from A to F with an S rank meaning practically perfect. You know, it's not exactly a report card to brag about, but it has potential. About what those categories mean as we go through the builds. This is the budget build we have here. Obviously just small tweaks. I got rid of Ardent Sacrifice. I don't know if you saw that I was going to, but I don't see why you'd have Ardent Sacrifice on this build. If you use it, hey, that's great. I'm glad you do. Otherwise, get rid of that thing. Trying to be cheap, I would give her Moonbow. She uses Iceberg really well. You're going to see Iceberg in the builds later on, but honestly, Moonbow is just going to give her that bang for the buck that she needs right now. It has a very definitive impact on it, and even with attack and speed bond, she really uses Moonbow a lot better than pretty much any other special. Glimmer, anything else, it doesn't matter. Okay, yes, I'm gonna get a little memey here. She has Wings of Mercy. It is really funny. It's great. You can go ahead and use her to attack. She's gonna kill a select handful of people right off the bat. Start warping her around to people that have received that damage. Of course, you could go the other way around. As I already mentioned, she's gonna take that retaliatory hit. You could go ahead and do escape route instead. Regardless, whichever way you go, having a flying Duchess of a mage is sort of fun. God, I should have checked that reference before I used it. Well, I'm not editing this out. We're showing her Duelist and Deflector rating. Duelist is her ability to trade blows back and forth. Deflector being her ability to just reflect ranged magic attacks, and melee magic attacks, honestly. And they're acceptable. They're not fantastic, but they are acceptable. That's about all I could say. Moving into the other two builds I have to share with you, one common theme for me is that without a lot of extra support, she falls flat. And it's really disappointing. And that it seems like, oh, well, of course, if you just give everybody support, of course they're going to do better. No, she does better, like considerably better. Going into these builds, this first one that I had to share with you is a Blade Tome build. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that I'm a huge fan of player phase armor units. And so this shouldn't be a surprise that I'm putting this on here. It shouldn't be a surprise that I'm showing this to you first. With the Blade Tome, she has great matchups, and it's just so intimidating. There's a couple ways to slice this, and I do have close counter on this particular build. She has just enough defense, and she's probably going to have enough support that she's going to be able to use it. However, I will say, if you don't have close counter, this build's not done. You can go ahead and just leave attack and speed bond on her. It's going to give her a lot of extra oomph, actually. Just no enemy phase attacks, which is usually a problem for armor. Vantage does save her bacon as long as she did get powered up quite a while once you get further into combat, so that's one of the reasons why that's there. Once again, you could do quick riposte if you want to go ahead and have a good enemy phase retaliatory attack. It's almost comical how much better it really is, but I did put a little bit of pacing on here because she does have close counter on here, and also, well, you know what, let's just go ahead and go talk about the matchups here in the obituaries. Looking at the DPT, Deltran's PvP threats, we're looking at 25 and 8 and 22 and 9. This is assuming that you're actually giving her a hone armor buff. That's not exactly common out there, but if you're running a blade tome, you need to be able to have those kind of buffs. And honestly, if you could proc Iceberg, that gives you so many more kills that it is worth it, but you really do have to change this up. You do have to go quick riposte, and you can just put the quick riposte seal if you want to keep Vantage to save your bacon and those other weird cases that may happen here. The other thing is that if you have some of the premium fodder out there, in particular for this build, a Bold Fighter, since this is a lot more player phase oriented, use it. It's great. It's going to charge up Iceberg for you. That is a skill that is very, very well spent on her. So I just mentioned all these things that make her better, and I don't show them. Why is that? Well, it's because once you start putting other support with her, once you start buffing her, not even necessarily with any kind of fortify at this point, if you just start giving her wards, maybe a goad here or there, and if you give her summoner support and ally support, believe it or not, just those extra little tweaks make this build really explode. And the fact that she has close counter means that she is already all-rounded. She has Vantage there to be able to protect herself. That way you don't have to rely on always keeping her hit points up, because honestly, you know what? 9 hit points, it's going to shed very easily, and so you're going to lose quick riposte quickly. And if you have a spare Lissa there, and if you have a spare Tharia there, you could probably really consider putting it on her to use, but not everybody has those units sitting around. Actually, I know a lot of people have already spent them because they thought the best armor units were already out there. Now, whenever I did my Halloween Henry build video, I got destroyed for not suggesting an Altome, and I had my reasons, and I'm going to actually state them here again because it's relevant, because, spoilers, Altome. Altomes require you to cluster up all of your units in order to get the biggest effect. Now, on an armor team, this is nice. First of all, armor is usually slow. Even with armor march, you're not necessarily going to just be everywhere all at once, so you're going to keep your whole team together as it is so you can continue to get that buff. In addition to that, a lot of people are running a lot of ward. It's easily conceivable to maybe run one other thing that's not a ward, but let's just assume that you have 3 buddies who are running ward, and you have them right next to somebody with an Altome that's running up there. You have a lot of defense. You have a good attack and speed. So when it comes down to it, you have a pretty solid unit. I mean, if you have like this like a little T that's walking up there, you have everybody in line. Who's the enemy going to attack? The super buffed unit in the middle or somebody on the side? That's a problem if you have horses, and you know what? You'd be able to see that coming very easily in Arena and be able to compensate for it. In PvE maps, not so much, and that is one problem that you would see with a particular type of build like this with the Altomes, and that's one of the reasons why I just don't like them. This is the build that I'm going to show you without any kind of quick riposte, because even just using normal quick riposte in the B slot is going to get you killed to the Reinhardt, which is a problem in my opinion. So you need to be able to have something to prevent that from happening. If you don't have Vengeful Fighter, quick riposte is not going to do that. If you have the quick riposte seal, please put that in the seal slot. It's going to be wonderful. I did not force us to have it in this particular build here to show these matchups, and honestly, if you look at it, it's really very comparable to what we had before with the Blade Tome setup. That's pretty cool, which means you actually have options here. The thing is that both of these options seem very common, but as I said, the one, it's very easy to stack. It's a very aggressive player phase thing. This particular build here, we are evaluating as if you have 2 buddies, but no extra buffs are calculated in this. In the DPT, the enemies always have buffs. The person we're evaluating doesn't. Honestly, whenever I evaluate these things, I do sort of have a pessimistic view of how they're going to be used, because if you can get them into a better spot, then that's great, but you need to have a guarantee. If you do something where you're like, oops, my unit's all the way up in the middle of nowhere, then you need to be able to actually know what's going to happen. Having said that, the point of an tome is to have friends, and so I am evaluating this as if you have 2 people adjacent, no extra buffs, so it's always going to be better as long as you don't have non-congruent C slots on your buddies here. A lot of the reasons why I don't like tome are actually negated by the fact that she's an armor unit and they have a great set of C slot buffs that can be applied to her. The other things that I did not mention yet, things like you have that, because of that clustering, you're easy targeting. That's not a huge concern in PvP arena. If I digress here, though, close counter on this build is actually very important. Unlike the Blade Tome build, you want to have close counter here. She does like having the speed and attack bond on her. It's not going to get her as much mileage. You need to keep on stacking the buffs, and like I said, if you do give her summoner support, if you do give her ally support, those extra buffs alone help really push her into just a league where she really does kill everybody in the current DPT. Link down the doobly-doo to see who's in it. It's a curated list that I make so that we can have an easy conversation about what to expect. And without full support, she does the job that you would expect her to. With full support, especially with premium fodder, and if you just keep guard and actually have the quick riposte seal, she does a lot more for you. It is crazy. Not every unit in the game can give you that much return on the investment, believe it or not. You would think all of them could do everything if they had all the stuff. That's not true. I guess you could say that that's Lyn's gift to you. God, I hope no one's mad at me that Lyn gave me the gift. So that's what I have for you for Lyn. Let me know down in the comments, have you pulled her? Are you using her? She's a good unit. How are you supporting her in combat? And do me a favor, if you like your Fire Emblem information hot and fresh like grandma's cookies, hit that subscribe button. My name is Deltran. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate all of you. And until next time, take it easy.